yourself in and get ready. The leaders in BBL Supercoach are incoming. Running in off the back fence to give you the ultimate insight to help you dominate your mates and climb up in the rankings. You're now listening to the Insight BBL Show with your hosts, Brain and Horse.
Yes, we are back. Welcome to the first Insight BBL show of the season. I'm the Supercoach Brain, and I'm joined by the great man, the Supercoach Horse, off the long run coming into BBL 14, mate. How are you?
Yeah, well, thanks. And I don't know about this long run. I'll be puffed by the time I get to the popping crease, and I'll be asking for drinks nice and early. But how good is it now, mate? NRL, AFL were done, 6 weeks ago? We've just had a period of not much go on, and the NBA's just started. Now BBL's picking up. It's a good time to be alive.
It's a great time to be alive, isn't it? I mean, I don't know about you, but as soon as the app opened, I've been harassing Supercoach BBL HQ to be opening the app for the last month, I think. But
yeah,
now that it's open, I reckon I've just lived in the app. I think my missus is sick of me now talking about whether I'm going to play Curran or Webster. So I'm sure there's more questions coming her way over the next 6 weeks.
And for the people in the Patreon, they'll be the questions coming from me because my missus is sick of me talking about any sort of fantasy sport at the moment. So be prepared.
Yes. Yeah, it's going to be good. I'm really looking forward to this episode. The first one of the season's always one of those ones where we don't have all the information just yet. We do obviously have the app open. We know the prices. We got a bit of a sneak peek into those prices nice and early as well. So we've had a little bit more prep time. So we'll talk about what's coming up very soon. But for those of you that are new to the show, hit that like button. We would really appreciate that. And for anybody, even if you're watching us on delay, hit the like button if you like the content and that subscribe button if you want to support the podcast. And for those of you listening to us on Apple or Spotify or wherever it is you get your audio pods, hit the follow button, leave us a 5-star review. We're also, Horse, doing a unlimited group again, aren't we?
We absolutely are. The group number is 650202. 650202. We will be giving away a Supercoach Champions ring for the overall winner and a weekly prize courtesy of our friends and day one sponsors, the Standard Squeeze.
What a time. It's, there's not many groups out there that give away a weekly prize for the top scorer as well as an overall scorer. So jump on in. It's free to join. Obviously, we give away some free shit. So happy days. And if you haven't heard of the Standard Squeeze just yet, I'm sure you will by the time the season starts. They get a good plug from us. But Mick, we've got a bit planned for this season, don't we? Especially throughout the preseason. So do you want to give everybody a bit of a rundown on what's coming?
I can. So in the preseason, which is over the next 6 weeks, we have nearly 20 shows planned for everybody, from a roster preview for every team to positional analysis for every team, a beginner's introductory show. So for those of you that are new to Supercoach, we'll be going through the odds and ends that you need to know and what you need to know to build the best side that you can. And you need to understand the scoring and the tactics involved. So we're going to do a bit of a deep dive into that. And a quick little statistic off the bat. Last year, 60% of all points scored went to the fielding team in each game on average, Braino.
Yes, definitely a very relevant point you make there as to, the fact that we want to be chasing these guys in the field and making sure that we're getting on all the bowlers, especially the death bowlers. We're not going to go too much into tactics tonight. We're just going to basically create a bare bones team from scratch for you and talk you through our thoughts on how to put together your first draft. But there's plenty of tactical analysis and podcasts coming your way to cover that. And obviously during the season, mate, we're talking, we'll talk about, preseason already, but during the season, we're going to do one show per round. So that live show will be on YouTube and also on audio. It'll be on the last night of each round. It is kind of shit because we have to podcast during one of the games. But we'll still come to you live every single round, probably every 4 days, I think it's going to be.
It will be, yes.
Cool. So we're going to cover all the buys, the holds, the sells in that show, talk about captains and all that kind of stuff as well. And that's going to be on the final night, like I said. Now, inside Patreon, Mick, and that's something that's relatively new to us. Our subscribers, we're already very thankful to have a few of those already. Thank you to everybody who got involved. They get full access to ask us any question they want. There's an open chat there where they can ask us whatever their questions are, get their team rated by us. They get exclusive Q&A episode as well that we're going to do every single start of round catered to them to answer all their questions. So if you want to become a Patreon member and get access to us, you should listen to this, I'm sure, very handsome American man tell you about it.
Want to take your Supercoach game to the next level? Inside Fantasy Sports are bringing you exclusive content all year round, such as weekly expert Q&As, team, trade, and captaincy advice, statistical deep dives, priority podcast questions, and tons more. So what are you waiting for? Get full access to the experts. Go to patreon.com/Insight Fantasy Sports and subscribe to Insight Unlimited today.
He said it better than me. So we'll let him do the job, eh?
He's definitely got a voice for radio, doesn't he? It's quite nice.
We've got a bit of chat here in the live chat as well. Get your questions in. We'll cover some as we go throughout tonight. It'll probably be the only live that we do for the next 6 weeks or so before the season starts. So get those questions in. We'll happily answer every single one of them tonight. And Deadly's given you a bit of stick, Mick. You're a co-host for the 2K show.
Oh, unbelievable. You give the bloke an inch and he takes a mile, doesn't he? But he does do God's work with the 2K League. For those of you that don't know, we cover Australia's premier, and New Zealand's, premier basketball esports league. Grand finals coming up next week. So if you're interested in esports and especially basketball, you're not going to want to miss that.
Not at all. Not at all. And IJ saying that I am making too much money from the podcast. It's amazing what a $40 green screen can do for you, IJ. It makes me look like I'm living in the Hamptons, but it's much better than looking at a plain white wall behind me. So, thank you to the
There's
green
nothing
screen.
wrong with that, is there?
I was hoping you'd bite, and you did. Beautiful. Good way to start things off. But guys, on tonight's show, we'll get into the nitty-gritty now. We're giving our raw and initial first reactions to player pricing. We're going to talk through our opinions on a few of the popular players, a few of the not so popular, maybe a couple of pods in there that we might chuck in this team tonight. But we're basically starting from scratch. We're going to use the Insight community team to put together a team and talk you through our thoughts on how it shapes up together. So what we're going to do is we're going to share our screen. So you're going to give me a second to do that. Hopefully I'll get this right. And there we go. Looks pretty good. Cool. Now, Horse, I guess maybe the starter question is, from a structure perspective, before we even rip in and add a player, you're starting with your priorities, right? And the guys that are absolute locks for you first.
Absolutely. So you've got your locks, but even more so, it's important to know your schedule. So we know that in round one, we have both Melbourne teams, the Renegades and the Stars, on a double. So as we can see there, the Renegades playing the Sydney team and Hobart, and the Stars playing Perth and Brisbane. So you want to try and load up on those two teams if you can. Not too much, because remembering we only have got 2 boosts for the year. So you want to be educated in what you do, but at the same time, you want to try and maximize the points that you can score with the players from these teams. So we're looking at the Stars to start with, and there's no bigger name on the Melbourne Stars than Glenn Maxwell, Bruno.
Tough. Yeah, tough to leave him out. I've seen a couple of people on X, and I love X because it's like this little bubble of Supercoach fanatics, isn't it? You know, we forget that 60,000 people play the game, and there's probably about 1,000 really passionate people on X. And one of them said, what's Glenn Maxwell done in the last year? And I don't think it really matters personally. He could have had a quiet year for me, and you just remember back to that 30 ball 100 that he got in the World Cup. And you think, you know what, you can be forgiven for having a shit year. I'm still picking you every single time I can pick you.
Yep. And he's going to have 2 cracks at it. And we're looking at a schedule here where they play Perth first up. We were talking about it off air. The game starts at 7:15. So in Perth, that'll be 4:15 p.m., middle of the afternoon. It's going to be a road. My God, Gladden Maxwell on a nice, hard, juicy wicket. There's just money, points, runs, wickets, catches to be taken. You just can't leave him out.
Nah. He's probably first picked for me, and probably has the orange armband, the captaincy for me in round 1 as well. It's just too obvious. I think you're probably trying to outthink the room a little bit if you're not picking Glenn Maxwell to start the season. So do you reckon we can just go ahead and throw him in this team here to kick things off?
I think you have to. Yes.
All right, he's in. So he's our first pick. Now, I guess let's come back to tactics, right? I'm really big on making sure I have as many bowlers in my batsman slot as possible. So that's why we're looking for bat ball all-rounders, preferably in your starting position at batsman. Mm-hmm. purely just because like we said earlier, 60% of the scoring comes to the fielding team, 40% comes to the batsman. So those pure bat-only guys, you get one crack at it, Horse, and you get a good seed, and that's your game done.
That's right. We had a few exceptional scores last year from the likes of Chris Lynn, Colin Munro, these sorts of players. Nathan McSweeney scored a couple of nice scores as well. But when you're talking about consistency, the bowlers have got 24 balls. Like they could take 2-3 wickets. You pick someone or an all-rounder that's going to get a hit, might make a quick fire 25 where you get your bonus points. You get your strike rate bonus. But with the ball, you take 3 wickets or you keep your economy rate down, you get bonus points there as well. So I'm looking at that. But I'm also looking at players that field in dangerous positions or key positions as well. You know, you're long on, you're log off, you're deep mid-wicket. That's where your catches are taken in the last 3 or 4 overs. So there's that element that we're thinking about as well.
For sure. And the NFL Mavericks in the chat here asking, is a rookie, is bowlers or batsmen more valuable in Supercoach? And I think it's fair to say that bowlers are definitely more valuable.
100%.
More so people that do both, like Glenn Maxwell and like a few others we're probably going to pick in this team tonight to give you an idea of where our heads are at. So is Campbell Chesser available in BBL Supercoach? We've got a few questions here about Campbell Chesser.
Oh, they bloody love him, don't they? But I'll tell you what, Campbell Chesser is still on an AFL list and Blake Drury isn't. So start the orange armband on Campbell Chesser next year.
Yeah, good. All right. That's one player to fade for next year, folks. You've heard it here early.
Yeah.
Flying Toilets in the chat. Hey, mate. Thanks for hopping on. He's an NBL guy, and we know he loves the NBL, but
he's quite good
he
at it
wanted
too.
me to notice him. I notice you. I see you, Flying Toilet. Let's keep moving on, mate. Tactically, we're looking for bowlers in the batsman slot. There's a few good all-rounders to pick to kick things off. Who's your second lock or best pick from here?
It's a bit of a toss-up, but I'm going Aaron Hardy. So we're talking about a Perth team who have the double in round 2. Their game is round 1, Perth versus Melbourne in Perth, hard wicket. He's a bowler. He'll bowl. He'll bat number 3. There's runs to be made. I don't think you can leave this guy out.
Not on Optus Stadium's flat wicket. For the most part, it's usually a really good batting pitch, isn't it? And, you know, even last year, we saw Aaron Hardy take the new ball as the captain of this team when Ash Turner was out. Now, Ashton Turner's back for Perth this year, thankfully for them, which means obviously Hardy won't be required to do any of the captaincy, but I still think they like using him with the new ball just to, you know, not that flat out pace of Richardson and AJ Ty they like using at the back end of the innings. So I feel like Hardy might sneak a couple of power play overs to start things off and jag a wicket or two too, which is massive, I think, when you're looking at a guy that can probably score 100 Supercoach points with his bat only to also get a bowl.
When it was last year that he captained a few games, wasn't it? And he probably overthought it a little bit.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. Now that Ashton Turner's taken the C back, I think that'll just let him play his game. He won't have to overthink things and it'll just come naturally to him.
And I think there are a couple of times last year where Perth really struggled at the top. You know, I think it was Zach Crawley, the Englishman who came over. He really just didn't get going. And then they had Sam Whiteman paired with him for a little bit, I think, from memory. And I don't remember the time where Aaron Hardy came in and it wasn't 1 for 20 or 1 for 10. So for me, he had to come on, play the new ball. Obviously, you do at number 3. But I remember him scoring 19 and missing out on the strike rate bonus by 1 run multiple times last year.
So,
I think we might get him at a bit of a discount. He's around the same price as he was last year, so that's handy.
I think there's an upgrade at the top of the order for Perth with it's Keaton Jennings, isn't it, that's come in to open the batting there, and he is quite a good T20 opener. He's been playing in the T20s in England for years now and making good runs.
I'm a bigger fan of Finn Allen up the top, to be honest with you. The New Zealand opening bat, he can hit a ball. He
can play. So, he can really play.
Yeah. I'm very excited about him. 152K for Finn Allen, probably not what I'm looking for to start the season, but definitely someone to look at in round 2. I agree on both of these with you, mate. Maxwell and Hardy straight in for me. Who's the next guy? I'm probably leaning towards a Tom Curran, personally.
That's exactly my next name. Yep.
So Tom Curran comes in at 152,000, which is import price. Now, obviously, he's going to get the death overs. He's the one that's locked in to bowl probably the 20th over every single time that they have an opportunity to do that. Batting 7 or 8, I think it's so hard to pass up a guy like that. When we look at Curran and we go have a look at the stats very quickly, he's got break even of 101, which means essentially that the 152K import guys are priced at a 50. So that's
insane.
That's a couple of poles and an economy rate bonus with the ball alone. And we know that I'm targeting death bowlers personally, and we'll see that when we talk about the bowlers soon, because death bowlers, you remember Daniel Sams last year? Remember how he took 4 for 1 or something in one of the final overs of a game and ended up scoring 170 or something stupid. And, those are the guys you want in the team, the guys that get junk wickets at the end of the innings, and they come pretty thick and fast.
Couldn't have said it better.
Who's your next one, mate?
My favourite, or one of my favourite T20 players, and that is Jack Edwards. So I put out a little tweet about Jack Edwards today, and he's priced at a 46, Nath. Without Tom Curran there. So we think about it last year. He was priced at, I think it was 68K last year. And Tom Curran then decided to run into the umpire and he got suspended for 4 weeks. In that time frame, he was phenomenal. He was taking wickets. He was making runs. Off the top of my head, 4 scores of above 77 in that period. He was phenomenal. I'll bring up the stats now, mate, from last year. But he's gone 87, 36, 81, 90, 77. And
hard to argue with that, isn't it?
He's priced at a 46. He was bowling death. He was taking wickets. He was bowling pretty economically, just at an average, economy rate of 8. And with the stick, he was, 130 with the stick as well. So, yeah, every opportunity to move up the order now. We talk about Dwarsh has been injured. He will be back in time for the start of BBL. But Daniel Hughes, that's a big out for them.
Yeah, that shuffles things a little bit. And there's a couple of different ways that this can go with Daniel Hughes being out. I think it's 8 to 10 weeks from now. So he's definitely going to miss most of December, unfortunately, for the Sixers. Do we see Jack Edwards go up to 3 and we see James Vince and Phillippe open the batting? I think Phillippe would have batted 3 and Hughes would have opened if Hughes was playing.
I think so,
but I think there's every chance Edwards could bat 3. The other smoky potentially could be Curtis Patterson comes up and bats 3 and they keep Edwards at 6 to finish the innings, which I know they like doing. So there's a couple of ways that could go. Let me ask you this. If you see Edwards batting at 6 and they say, Curtis Patterson, you're the guy, have a crack at 3, do you think, would you reconsider that pick?
Curtis Patterson will make 10 or 20 balls and make it impossible for Sydney to win a game.
Yeah, but does it mean you fade Jack Edwards if that's the play that they go with?
Yeah, tough. I'll have to reevaluate how things are going, but yeah, it won't be as a sure thing as what it previously might have been.
I mean, Jack Edwards opened the bowling multiple times last year for the Sixers too. He's good with the new ball. So look, maybe he's relevant enough with the ball in hand and batting at 6. That could be okay, but there's a few other guys we can talk about here too. Mate, the next guy, look, we're looking for another player that's going to get a bowl. And when we go down this list, I know we're not going to pick Matt Short tonight because we're going to put together a specific Matt Short build that looks very, very different because you've got to spread your cash very differently with Matt Short in your team. But we'll leave him out for tonight's purposes. When you go down this list of all of these premium guys, the first guy that really kind of pops out to me in that premium range is Bo Webster. Now, we've spent a lot of money here in the top end on the batsmen, but these are all premium guys for a reason. All guys that are likely going to get a bowl and get a decent bowl throughout the campaign as well. Maxi's going to get his overs, especially now that he's not the captain. We know Curran's going to bowl at the death. We know Bo Webster can bowl offies and he can bowl medium pace. So he's got that variety there. I think he's probably going to be bowling more overs than Marcus Stoinis personally. And I think, if you can get Bo Webster, Curran and Maxwell in, I think they're my top 3 personally that are from the Stars on the double.
From the Stars, yeah, absolutely. And we saw Bo Webster last year. Was it at Albury? He went bloody ballistic up there where he made, I think he scored 177 in a game last year. He was 153. So 217 against Sydney, 153 against the Renegades. So his top end scoring, unreal.
Absolutely. I'm a big Webster fan. I think that if you're going to pick 3 stars, these are the 3, and there's a lot of money. We've spent 880,000 here in over 5 picks, but you're going to notice in the bowlers section, there's a lot of value there that we can play around with. So I think that's going to be the play. Mate, let's talk about the wicket keepers and let's sew up the starting wicket keeper spot. Who are you looking at here in the wicket keeper slot, mate? Because unfortunately, Ben Duckett, who would have been relatively popular, he's going to miss the round one double for the Stars on England duty. So who's the next best option?
It's Tim Seifert or Seifert. How do you say it?
Seifert, yeah.
Yeah, he looks unreal. You've done a bit of digging on this guy, mate, and you really like what you see.
I do. The reason I like what I see is he reminds me of a Brendan McCullum from Wish. You know, just like a guy that can play 360 degrees around the wicket, uses the pace of the ball really well to the quicks. He obviously opens the batting in most of those white ball formats as well. He'll have the gloves more than likely for the Renegades as well. So I'm a big Tim Seifert fan. I think he's only 10% owned at the moment as well, which is big pod territory for us. For me, he's the only obvious option, personally. I want a wicket keeper on the double to kick things off. Then I can trade Seifert out in round 2 and I can get to Inglis or I can get to someone else if I need to, or I can free up cash and go down to enough if I've already got Inglis in my team. So that's probably the way that I'm thinking at the moment, is that we start with Tim Seifert, 152K import price. We know that wicket keepers get extra fielding stats as well. So I'm pretty keen on him.
Yep. And we'll talk about, for those of you that are asking about Inglis, we will talk about him later. This is my little option in the new flex position that we will get to.
Yeah, flex is very interesting, isn't it? Do you want to fill the bench now, or do you want to get our starters sorted and then work out the bench later?
Yeah, let's get the starters sorted, because I reckon with our bench, it's probably going to be quite resourceful in youth and bottom end contracts or bottom end money.
Yep. Okay, let's talk bowlers then. Like when we look at the bowlers, obviously you've got a lot of all-rounders here. Very quickly, the reason I'm not picking Jamie Overton is he has not bowled. He's got those side strain or stress fractures, I think it is. He hasn't bowled this year at all. I don't see him bowling in the BBL either. So you're picking a 207K batsman who will bat 6 for Adelaide, and that's definitely not it for me.
Yeah, no,
Xavier Bartlett, as good as he is, that's 202K is a lot of money to spend on a bowler. He will bowl death, and I'm sure he'll score well. I just want to use my cash with value picks in the bowlers and guys that are going to bowl at the end of the innings.
Yeah, spot on.
Who are you looking at?
Overton without bowling as well, just not an option.
Not a chance. No, not a chance. Who are we looking at, mate, to kick things off? Obviously want to target a guy on the double to start, so a Stars or a Renegades guy potentially.
Yeah,
where are we going?
In my little team that I've got started, I've actually got Bo Webster in my bowlers, but one that I will mention that I think everyone should consider will be Will Sutherland from the Renegades. We know that he can make runs. He bowls death. He bowls those middle overs as well. He's guaranteed to bowl his 3 or 4 overs. Quite economical as well. I really like the pick. And what's he at? 132K?
Yeah. So that's
still pretty for a bloke that was priced at one stage last year. I believe he was priced at over 200K.
Yes, he was. He had that red hot start to the season where he took 2 for 6 on that wicket that was a landmine, and he made massive cash. And as soon as I bought him last year, he just decided to do nothing. I think he was carrying an injury at different points and managed the captaincy quite poorly. So I think things should open up for him this year, I think. So I like that pick. What are we thinking next, mate? Obviously, with Will Sutherland, we've got, Renegades are pretty popular. They've got some fantastic options. And one guy, I think we need to probably start to get a little bit cheaper when we're looking at this squad, because we've got a few guys here that are going to cost us some money, right? The guy I'm looking at is Kane Richardson. Now, Kane Richardson, the only risk here is that he has missed, I think it's 9 games over the last 3 seasons. So there is a chance he isn't within rotation there, and Fergus O'Neill will come in and play a game here or there. So there's no guarantee Richo's going to play every single game for the Gades, but you only really need him to play the first 2. And then he's probably one of those guys that you move on and hopefully he makes you some cash. But he will bowl death overs. He always has. He's a very experienced bowler and a quality bowler at that, swings the ball both ways. I'm a fan of Richo. I think the value that you're going to get here, I think he's priced around that 32 he's priced at, which I think, that's 1 wicket and a small economy bonus and he's sorted.
And for those of you that are wondering, with the round 1 fixture, they've got the Sixers in Sydney, and then they've got Hobart at Geelong. We know what sort of a deck Geelong can muster up to, so that could be quite juicy for bowling down there.
Deadly is on Tom Rogers this year, which is another really good alternative pick from Kane Richardson. I don't think you could probably have both, but remember Tom Rogers 2 years ago? He was
Which Tom Rogers? The one from the
Renegades bowler, Tom Rogers. Yeah, not the opening bat from the Stars. Yeah, I'm a big Renegades Rogers fan, but I probably am just picking Richo purely due to the value, personally. Where are we going from here? Now, let me ask you this. Let me ask you this before you dive in. What are you doing with the Stoin? Because he's 84K, dual position. He is the most owned player in Supercoach right now.
Yep.
Are you going with him?
I want to, but I'm not going to.
Okay.
And did I hear you ask me why? Oh, funny you should ask, mate.
Please tell
why. We've got the likes of Paris, Steketty, Curran, who are all likely to bowl death overs. The Stoin's not going to open. If he's going to bowl, he'll bowl his 1 or 2 overs in the middle. He's going to bat at 5, 6. Yeah, it doesn't really appeal to me. So yeah, I'm going to be fading the Stoin.
Yep, I think I'm with you. How many times does he have to let you down before you say never again? It's like the ex-girlfriend you keep going back to, right? Every single year. I
already support Essendon, mate. It's enough.
Fair. Hey, mate, I'm a West Tigers supporter. I think we're 3 spoons in a row. I've qualified for that. So, I think I'm going to leave Stoin out as well. I think it's just the price. But Magnus in the chat here saying Stoinis could open with Duckett missing. I think there's probably I think they made it pretty clear they showed their hand last year when they could have had that opportunity for him to open, but they opened with Harper. And I think we're probably going to see the same here in round 1 at least while Duckett's out. I think we see Harper open the batting personally and Harper keep.
Great segue into bringing up that Duckett will be missing round 1 as well. So for those of you that are looking at bringing him in, you've got to wait.
Yeah, for sure. All right, where are we going from here, mate? I think, look, we're talking Renegades. I'll probably take a little bit of a break from the Renegades, but there is a guy here. And we might have to make a couple of changes to this team because we're spending a bit of money, but a guy you probably cannot go without, is Jai Richardson. 130K for Jai Richardson. And the reason I say this with that kind of horror is because if we go to his career stats, you have a look at his average every single season that he has played. 55, 68, 58, 64, 79 are the 5 full seasons that he has played games in the BBL.
Wow.
And then you look at last year of 30.5 in 8 matches played. He is potentially he could be 25 to 30 points undervalued as a bare minimum. So for me, I'm picking Jai Richardson without a second thought. He has a double in round 2. They play at Perth at Optus Stadium in game 1, which they always perform well at and bowl well at. I think Jai Richo is pretty close to a must-have at that price.
And then they're double Bloodstone Arena in Tassie and at Marvel Stadium in Melbourne. So I was actually thinking about going another way.
Okay.
So, yeah, the viewers at home can do what they will with this information, but I'm actually going with Berendorf.
Yeah, okay. I like it. Yeah. A bit more cash.
He's about 30K extra, but I really like what Berendorf does with the new ball. So you could have that flat, hard deck, but we see the way that he moves the ball and that left arm, high action, gets a lot of bounce, makes it awkward on the opening batsman. And the batsmen that try and force their way early against him usually nick off or they play a stupid shot and he gets his wickets. So that appeals to me.
Where's he priced at? 160K. So you paid an extra 30K to go from Richo to Berendorf, which, look, if you've got the coin, great. I don't know. There's a super pod, 5% owned. I think you're probably, if you're looking for a pod, Berendorf could be one of the best, for sure. I'm personally going with Richardson just due to the cash because I need that money if I'm going to make the rest of my squad work. I think we're starting to eat into this salary cap. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We've got 8 players and 609K left, so we're going to have to go cheap from here. Yeah, nice. I wish I had 609K. Where else are we looking, mate? Let's start looking cheaper again. Who are the cheaper options that are standing out for you at the moment? There's one that I'm really high on, and for anybody who follows me on X, you would already know this, but it's Henry Thornton. I think he is severely undervalued this year. 34, I think he's priced at. I know he's not on the double in round 1, but he will be on the double in round 2. I think for anybody who was an owner or maybe even wasn't an owner in round 1, not last year, but the year before, I think Henry Thornton had a double for the strikers in round 1 last year, 2 years ago, and scored 260. So
Wow.
he is a guy that can go very, very large when he goes on a run. He takes poles for fun, and that rhymed, and I did not even mean it, and I'm very happy with myself about that.
Brano, and I want to bring up another thing. We spoke before about Overton. He won't be bowling. And I know it's a less of a name, but Wes Agar's not there anymore. So this has opened things right up for him.
Yeah, so Agar at the Thunder, and also David Payne was not signed, the Englishman who bowled the death overs last year. So I genuinely see that Henry Thornton could be the guy that opens the bowling, bowls his first 2, and then comes back and bowls the 18th and the 20th over.
He's underrated, and he's quite slippery too. Like he's bowling mid-140s.
Mind you, he can go the distance. If guys get a hold of him, he can go. But in saying that, he's always going to be in the wickets. I think he's going to be a guy that will take wickets. He could be that guy, that Daniel Sams we spoke about, that comes on and bowls the last over and jags 3 for 7 or something like that when people are swinging their tits off at the end. So that's the kind of guy you want in your team. I'm probably going to start him on the bench, though, and try and maximise the doubles early on. So who else have we got on the double here? We've got some suggestions in here. IJ's suggesting Zampa, who, look, I think you'd be silly to go with it. I think you'd be silly to go without Zamps this year. Tell me your thoughts on him, and I'll add on.
Yeah, well, he's the Australia's premier T20 leg spinner, isn't he? Has struggled a bit in local competitions in the past, but you know, a guy like this just doesn't come around every day. And what's his name? Was it Ul Hassan, who's not at the Renegades anymore? The Bangladeshi offie that was bowling there last year. So, yeah, the competition's not as stiff as what it's been in the past, and I think the Renegades are going to have to rely on him a little bit more.
I think the one thing that everybody forgets is the fact that the last 2 seasons have been incredibly international duty heavy before the BBL. I think there was the ICC.
He was tired. He came out and said he was tired. Yeah.
They rested him. This is a leg spinner who runs in 10 steps to bowl, and they rested him. So that's how wrecked he was at the end after the World Cup. And that's probably why his performances were quite lackluster last year and why we're getting him at $80,000 this year. I think he's had definitely a depleted workload. They haven't had all of the stress from the World Cup and international duties and things like that. I think Zamps bounces back pretty heavy this year. So I think he's a guy at the price you want to start with. Who else? Who else are we looking at, mate? You take the next one. We're going to talk about flex now, or do you want to fill the bench?
No, let's talk about the flex, because I want to talk about one Jay Inglis.
Okay.
He's unreal. He can strike the ball like no other keeper that we've got really in this competition. Well, now that Seifert is in the competition, probably a little bit similar, but Josh Inglis, Perth, they've got the double in round 2. They've got a home game round 1 that I'm confident he will score well in. But also, Brano, when we're talking about keepers, Josh Inglis was the #1 point scorer for fielding points last year by 60 points. He scored 170 points as the keeper. The next best was 110. So you're getting 60 extra points from the keeper position.
It's huge, isn't it? And that's why wicket keepers can be quite undervalued in Supercoach. I think, we've only got 2 slots for wicket keepers. You can obviously play them in the batsman slot too. So you've got a number of others, but you want to try and get the all-rounders in the batsman slot. For me, I like Inglis. I'm still trying to work out how I'm going to play this flex, to be honest. I haven't committed to one way yet, one direction. I feel like you could use a wicket keeper and you could get a guy like Inglis in, and that's what I have in my team at the moment. That's the way I've gone. But I think you probably could also look at then if you do have an all-rounder in your flex spot, or a strong guy like Inglis in your flex spot, you could then have a bit of a free swing. So what the flex creates this year is the fact that you basically have 12 starting this year instead of 11. But it takes your 11 best scorers every week, which means that basically you get a free swing on one player. Yeah. And then you add in the loop opportunities that we'll talk about later on in another future show. And there's every chance, right, that you could have a free swing at a bat loop, a bowl loop, and basically you get another free swing as a starting batsman as well if you really wanted to. So that's probably... There's a lot to think about. The flex opens up a lot this year, and I'm not quite sure how I'm going to use it, but using Inglis there is pretty rock solid.
very strategic. You could go a batsman bowler there, so you could move in between the two. For both of us at the moment, we've both got English sitting there at the moment that we can vary between our wicketkeeper positions as well, given that it's usually a high scoring position for fielders, or keepers generally score the most amount of points on the fielding side.
Yeah, 100%. Dennis in the chat saying flex spot could be someone like a cheaper batsman on the double, like Harper. So that word is banned in our on our podcast. Dennis. I know you might be new here, mate, but Harper is he who shall not be named. After his efforts last year.
It says that Harper's 58K on Supercoach, when in fact he actually owes us money from last year. So
he does. He does. That's how much he's in debt to Supercoaches from last year. Yeah. Mate, we've got 5 spots. We've only got 290K, so we're going to have to go real cheap here, but there are some pretty good cheap options. Now, are we looking at a really early bench loop option? So when we say loop, we mean a non-player that's basically someone that's not going to play, that you can start on field and then emergency your other player. We'll go into this in depth, but basically we're looking for a couple of non-players here to utilize our loopholes. Anybody screaming out to you?
Maybe not from the wicketkeeper's position just yet.
I got one for you. If we're looking for a bench loop, Jake Doran is the guy. So he's not going to. I'd be very surprised if he plays Jake Doran. Actually played a fair bit of junior cricket with Jake Doran. Good guy. So the good thing about Jake Doran is that you've got to look at the schedule if you're going to be utilising your loophole. You want them to play as late as possible so that you can shuffle them around wherever needed. Jake Doran and the Hobart Hurricanes only play the first game of the round once in 9 rounds. So that allows you to have that flexibility to start Jake Doran in your starting wicketkeeper spot. It was a weird flex, wasn't it? In your wicketkeeper spot. And then you get a free swing at Seifert. If Seifert doesn't come off and you've got Inglis down there in the flex, you can shove Inglis up there if he hasn't played yet and bench Doran to then get Inglis's points. We're going to do this. We'll do a future episode where we talk through how to loop in depth. But I like, if you're going to pick a bench wicketkeeper as a loop option, it's going to be Jake Doran.
If you want a keeper that will play, but I'm not confident in him scoring well, Duckett misses round 1. It's Sam Harper. He could shit the bed again, but he who is burnt once could potentially be burnt twice.
No question about it.
He could score his points.
Hurt again.
Yeah.
Don't think so. I mean, I understand the logic behind it. I'm still burned from last year. And we need to. I'd need to see him opening the batting and have the gloves for me to consider him, which I think could happen. But yeah, I don't know. He could be a good flex option to just have a bit of a free swing at that 12th player.
You're still scarred, aren't you?
So much. It really hurt me. Let's talk about batsmen. We've got to go cheap here. We've only got 250K across 4 players, which means we have how good's your maths? 62,500 per player to work with. So there's a few 58, 39K guys to play around with. So if we're going to have to slide all the way down to the bottom. Who are we looking at here, mate, in your batsman slot on the bench?
I'm going to throw a forgotten name of Supercoach point scoring who didn't do that well last year, but he's priced at 58K, and that's James Bazley from the Strikers.
Mm-hmm.
I think that he bowls. I think that he bowls his 3 or 4 overs. He won't, he'll bat at 7, 8 in that striker side?
Yeah, he'd have to. He wouldn't bat lower than 8.
Yeah.
I do like it.
He still presents value, though.
I'm still questioning whether he actually is even going to play, personally. I just think, he's a guy that, he can strengthen the batting order, but, I don't really know whether they need to strengthen the batting order. I think they're pretty solid. I mean, I'm also pretty high, and I think Jasper's already mentioned it in the chat. Buckingham from the Strikers could get a run at 39K, and if Buckingham and we're talking Henry Thornton, right? They're going to be the 2 go-to quicks. You've got Cam Boyce and Lloyd Pope, who were both fantastic last year. So they'll both probably play again for the majority of the games. And then you've also got Matt Short. He's got to get his overs, right? So is Bazley going to be the 6th bowler? I'm very, very interested to see how this plays out.
Mm-hmm.
I would not be surprised if he doesn't play, but I hope he does, because that's value that you can just take to the bank.
100%.
Mate, the next one for me, I'm just looking through this list here, and we're probably going to need to go kind of cheap. There's a couple of guys I'm tossing up.
Is Maddo going to play?
I think he does. I don't think they would have signed him if they weren't going to use him. I think he probably could even bat 3 or 4, personally. I don't see Jason Sanger playing this year, so someone's got to fill that 3 spot. But the guy that I'm looking at, if I can actually get down all the way, where is he? Did I miss him? Where is he? Our boy Will Salzman. I think as a dual bat bowler, and I think you could probably have him down here if you really wanted to. You could probably pop him in the bowler's slot. He is a guy that, one, would be a fantastic loophole if he does not play in the first 3 rounds. But if he does play, he's the ultimate cash cow because he's going to do a little bit of both. I'm a big fan of this guy. I reckon he's going to be a quality player in the future. It's just a matter of whether the Thunder use him this year or whether they give him a little bit of experience within the squad. If he doesn't play, he's a great loop rounds 1, 2, and 3. The problem becomes they play third, and fourth, I think, in the first 3 rounds. So you can use him as a loophole because he plays late. But the Thunder then play 5 of their final 6 games with the first game of the week. So you can't then use him as a loophole at all.
No.
So I'm going to start with him, I think. Obviously, we'll wait for news and find out what's going on. We've still got 45 days. We know what happens in BBL land. I think something new happens every day. So, but I think Salzman's too good a value to start with.
Talk to me about Sam Constas, mate. His name's been floated up as being a potential bring-in for the national team. If he doesn't, does he get a crack with the Sixers? With the Thunder?
Look, he's so good.
We've seen here in the app, he's nearly at 30% already.
He's so good. And look, people are picking him off the back of the 200s that he scored in the Shield recently, and I don't blame them at all. But in saying that, he is still young. He's incredibly talented. He'll play for Australia. There is no doubt in my mind that he'll play for Australia in the future. I'm just looking at the Thunder lineup, and I'm struggling to see where he fits in. They've got Billings now, I think. Like, if Billings wasn't signed, I think they could probably lead into a guy like Constas. But, I just don't see it happening, at least to start. Maybe he'll come in round 3, 4. But I don't think he starts, personally. Yeah. I hope I'm wrong, because that'd be another fantastic option there. Let's move into the bowlers to wrap this team up, mate. We've got, how much do we have? 150K. So we've got a bit to work with here. What are you thinking?
Give me some Mitch Perry.
Okay. Tell me your thoughts on Mitch Perry.
Bottom dollar, 39K. Pretty nice bowler. And we're talking about Dwarshuis. Yeah, he's coming back in November. If he doesn't, does he get a start?
If Dwarshuis doesn't play, I'd say Mitch Perry's the next guy to come in.
Yeah.
But I think Dwarshuis is fine. It's a pec strain, not a pec tear. I think I'd be concerned if it was a pec tear or a rupture or something like that. It'd be completely fucked. It'd be no chance. But the fact that they've come out and said mid-October it was a strain, normally a pec strain takes 6 weeks at the most to recover. I know he's a fast bowler, so there's going to be some extra care there, but I think he's almost a certainty to play. I'm not concerned about Dwarshuis missing any games at all. So for me, I don't think Mitch Perry starts. Again, great if he does. Another guy I'd be loving to see play is Marley Beardman. Holy shit, this kid can bowl.
There's been a lot of interest in this kid.
If you go and watch his highlights from the Under-19s World Cup that just happened, this kid is like something special. He will, and I don't know what it is in WA. They just keep churning out these absolute jet fast bowlers. Like, this kid's probably 6'3", sends him down quick at 19 years. He only just turned 19 as well. Like, he's going to be quick. So I just don't know where he fits in. Yeah, there's just so many fucking quicks at Perth. Like, who misses out? I just don't see it happening.
I saw someone made a comment earlier on that the last time Perth played on a double, they rested Richo in the second game. So
they did.
Does he get a crack when? Yeah,
that was also when Richo was carrying probably 2 or 3 niggles into the BBL. So by all reports, there is no injury concern for Jai Richardson at all this year. He got his shoulder sorted last year, so I'm confident in him. I think that'll be all right. I'm not worried about that. Jordan Buckingham, I think, probably needs to slot in here. 39K, I think he could start. If he doesn't, we swap him out for another guy that could potentially get a role. But who's our last bowler, mate? We've got 113K to play with. We've actually got a fair bit. Who are you having a crack at here? Because
let's have a bit of a look.
One of the guys, and I don't know whether we pick him, but one of the guys I'm looking at strangely is Joel Paris. I was speaking to you earlier. Yeah. So Joel Paris, he bowled the first over in every game that he played last year for the Stars. He only missed one game, I think, from memory. And he bowled the 20th over in every game he played bar one. So for me, he's opening the bowling and bowling death. I know Curran will be the death bowler, so I'd say Paris probably bowls the 19th, not the 20th. I don't feel confident about Steckity at all at the Stars. That guy's a bowling machine.
Neither. Yep.
I think Joel Paris could be a sneaky little play. I'm not 100% confident on it, but at 72K, he's only got a break even of like 25 or something. Like that's one wicket.
That's what, one wicket?
Yeah. And he's on a double as well. I don't see him missing games either. I think he's going to be in the squad. Steckity would probably drop out before Paris would.
Yeah. So if you pick Paris there, how much money does that leave us?
Or if I do my math, 40K.
Beautiful. Because, ladies and gentlemen, you will notice that there is one massive omission from our round one side that we've put together, and that's Matt Short. Yes, he is 300K, but in order to get the best, most well-rounded side, it is of both Nath and my thought processes that we go without Short and look to bring him in round two. So we still want to have some money in the bank to help us trade up to him in round two.
Spot on. Now, the hope is that Matt Short drops cash and Glenn Maxwell covers his and he's the captain and he's, brings us home with a wet sail, and then we can just do Maxwell to Short for very minimal coin, right? But there's every chance Matt Short, being the quality player that he is, goes out and scores 100, covers his money. So you will need cash. The beauty of BBL is that you can make up to 4 trades in a round if you do use your boost. Now, there's only 2 boosts this year, so you've got to use them sparingly. Now, you can probably, if you needed to get Matt Short in round 2, which is absolute priority if you don't start with him, you need him in round 2, you can use 2 downgrades to still get him in. So I think it's not like it's out of reach completely, even if you have no cash in the bank, which is why I probably wouldn't mind us filling this last spot with Hayden Kerr, personally. I think...
Oh, yeah.
I mean... you probably are a bigger fan of Hayden Kerr than I am personally. And I think now Hayden Kerr probably gets a bit more of a run with Daniel Hughes out of the team. He finds his way in, but the Sixers are so strong. They've got Sean Abbott, who's also fantastic value. Where do you see Kerr fitting in? Because I think there's every chance he could bowl some death.
Mate, I think he does. So last year he played 2 games, so he came in late. And his first game back, he scored a 77 or something like that. The last game, not so good. It was only a 7-pointer. So we can't look too much into that. But the year before, this is a guy that was priced in the 180s at some stage. He was bloody unreal with both bat and ball. So he's a genuine 3-level scorer. He can field a right as well. He's got a strong arm. If he gets a crack, definitely some money to be made there. And he's got some real high upside too.
Big time. I like him. I really like that pick. I guess you're probably just going to have to work out how much cash you want in the bank and whether it's viable to go a Kerr, or you could go a Paris or someone cheaper. You can see here with the structure of this squad, we've gone pretty cheap at bowler here for good reason, because there are some really good value picks in the bowling slot. Yeah. And we've loaded up in the batsman slot with guys like pure top end all-rounders that are going to they're going to bat and bowl. And I think that's probably the way that you need to structure your squad. Another reason why you would probably need Kerr, if you're going to go with all of these bowlers, just on this example, would be that he's the only bat bowl all-rounder in our bowler slot at the moment. And I would recommend you have at least 1 or 2 so that you can do a bit of shuffling up and down from bat to bowl if you need that flexibility. If you close off your dual position by not having any batsmen in your bowler slot, you're probably going to be cucked at some point throughout the season. So worthwhile. Couple of Supercoach Edge, he was talking about Kane Richardson, and I agree with that. Kane Richo does get rotated a fair bit, mate. So, there is a risk there for sure with him. IJ has only asked us 7 times about Scott Boland, so we probably should answer it. What are your thoughts? Is Scott Boland get a gig?
No.
Okay. So do you obviously we're thinking
Scott
Steckity
Boland is a
and Paris.
great line and length bowler, but in T20s, it's quite predictable. And for people that want to get aggressive, that's money for jam.
Yeah, I agree. I think Steckity and Paris are better T20 bowlers than Boland is. That's probably my only thinking there. And the problem is they've got so many fucking all-rounders in this team too. You've got Stoinis who can bowl seam up. You've got Glenn Maxwell. You've got Webster who can bowl seam up and offies. Like, you've just got so many options there at the Stars now that you don't need to take 3 genuine quicks into this game. You can just go 2 quicks. You've got your spinners there. I think they just signed Hamish McKenzie from Perth. He could be another guy that could get a gig for the Stars and could be another really good option. I think he's 60K or something. So he could be a decent shout.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see them needing to take 3 quicks in. So if Boland does play, we're looking at Steckity potentially missing out. So it'll be one of them too, and I don't see Steckity missing personally.
I see a few people in the chat have mentioned David Warner this year.
What are your thoughts on Davey Warner?
As a bloke or as a cricketer?
Let's keep it cricket for now.
Okay. Teasing.
Okay.
It's 150K, so he is cheaper than what he was last year.
It's a 50 break even now. It's priced at 50.
Yeah, I think I'll wait and see what practice matches are doing.
Let me tell you this, right? And we'll bring the schedule up on the screen. The Thunder don't have a double until round 6. Now, if they had a double earlier, absolutely, I'd be looking at David Warner in my flex spot and just have a free swing. If he fucking nicks off early or tops one, great, whatever. No big deal, because his score will likely drop out. But I think for me, the schedule is just cucking him, really. I'm not looking at David Warner personally, but there is positives there that he doesn't have to worry about international cricket. This is his stage now. He's allowed to be in leadership teams again. He's allowed to take on the captaincy. He won't take it from Chris Green for the Thunder. I think they'll stick with him, but I think David Warner will have a big voice and a big part to play for the Thunder this year. He'll be there all year. So I do like that in theory. It's just I don't think I can start with him.
Again, the adage of it takes 1 seed to rock off a batsman, and you've got 4 overs as a bowler. And Davey Warner is not bowling anytime soon. So, yeah, more leaning towards a pass than a buy.
For sure. Now, very quickly, we've got a couple of questions and we'll wrap this one up. We said we'd do sub an hour. We've already answered the question from Travis and a couple of others on thoughts on David Warner, but Supercoach Edge here has got a good one here. Will we need to punt someone worth 200 to 250K in order to bring Matt Short in? Do you then punt Short back to Maxi in round 3 for the Stars double game week and then Maxi to Short for the Strikers double game week? It's a bit of what we call Maxi and Short roulette, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It is. Hopefully we can go elsewhere with a bit of money in the bank and depending who makes money, but that's what it appears to be at the moment.
I think it has to be because they're so close in price. You've just got to hope that Maxi doesn't shit the bed if you're going to start with him and not with Short. But I think the one thing you've got to think about is you're using 3 trades there, which are going to take away from others. So if you can have cash in the bank, a lot of people, and I think Andrew Langley, the dual back-to-back Supercoach winner, we had him on the podcast last year, thankfully, and he was talking a lot about his tactics and the way that he approaches it. And he said that he tries to make $500,000 in team value as quick as possible by round 4. And if you're going to do that, can you afford to go back and forth between Maxi and Short, Maxi and Short, Maxi and Short without chasing all of this cash that's going to be on offer to start things off?
Good point.
So for me,
these will be one of the discussion points that we'll bring up in our Patreon closer to the season.
It is very early, isn't it? So, there's so many different things and a lot of changes that are going to be coming. But I think, for one, I'm super excited to actually rip into some content. We've got team previews coming up. For those of you that are already in the Patreon, you can see all of the articles we've already got up. We've already done a team preview and a best 11 selected in every single team, so you can get a gauge on that. We're going to be doing a ton of exclusive content in there as well. We're going to be answering your questions throughout the preseason, getting your team sorted, and tons more. So you can jump into the Patreon. The link's in the description below if you want to support the show and get involved. Otherwise, what are we coming up with next? Schedule deep dive, aren't we? Is the next episode?
It is, yes. So that'll come out within the next week.
Yeah, so we're going to rip in. We've got 45 days left until the season starts, and we've got about 20 episodes that are going to be coming out in between now and then. So plenty of content coming your way. That is our first team off the rip. not too much thought, I'd like to say. Things are going to get a bit spicy as we go.
Yeah, you're right. But you look there at that team, and that's raw. That's us just coming up off the bat going, here's a team. And it's quite well structured. We've got some rookies on the bench there, sure, that we don't know whether they're going to play or not. But you look at that core 12 players, and they've all got massive upside there. So, yeah, as we get closer to the season, we'll have our ears to the ground with practice matches and all that sort of jazz. Who's bowling what, who's batting where, and we'll be sure to release that to our exclusive Patreon members.
Yep, absolutely, guys. That will do us. That'll wrap up episode 1. If you haven't yet, please hit subscribe. Please hit like. We would appreciate that. Hamo's been harassing us for some rec, so we better hop on 2K now and keep him happy. But we will be back within the next week. You've got tons of episodes coming your way. Audio listeners, give us a 5-star review. Hit that follow button, and we'll see you next time. Catch you later.
See ya.